Thank you for tuning in to Station 7 of the Wizarding Wireless Network. Hello everyone, all of you Potterheads all over the world, no matter what time zone you're in when you hear, or yes, you're basically hearing this, you're not certainly not watching much. I'm more or less doing this endeavour as a sort of Wizarding Wireless deal for reasons more geared towards the fact that I've got the general appeal and charms of an unfortunate road accident. So that's my basic rationale for doing it with this sort of format. I've got a face and a body for radio. So that's why I'm doing this. I also wish to discuss things Potter related from perhaps a perspective of I happen to be middle-aged, and I came into this series more or less middle-aged. I did watch the first movie when I was in my late 20s, approaching late 20s. I was 26, I believe, and anyways, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I tried reading the books, I should say, well, yes, I have. I tried reading the books once at first, and I thought the prose was a bit juvenile. So I watched the first three movies, and I thought they were absolutely fantastic. And, I was issued the audio books. I was given it by a friend who let me borrow his UK version, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Stephen Fry's narration of the series made the whole thing an absolute masterpiece, and I loved every minute of it. And I see the general community in YouTube very well represented among the adolescents, the teenagers, and the early 20-somethings, mid-20s perhaps. I absolutely love the channels. I love watching their work, their imaginations. A lot of them are absolutely adorable. They're very inspiring, and I like to see the community act the way they do. It's just absolutely fantastic. The community, I think, is unprecedented in terms of quality. I truly believe that. I don't care which house you're in, that sort of thing. I'm a proud Gryffindor. It should be notably obvious if you study my little picture that I put up there. Using my email address that I've attached to this channel, for lack of a better word, I decided, and I was really chuffed about this, truly. Okay, I'm looking at it right now. I opened a Pottermore account, and under this email address, I took the house quizzes and did everything, the Patronus. What really, truly gave me an absolute laugh, and I loved it. I really, truly did. I'm using the pseudonym to write and to do performances on another channel under the pseudonym Gerrick Greythorne. I just like alliterative names. They are part of the Potterverse. There's plenty of them. Pansy Parkinson, Gregory Goyle, Severus Snape, Phileas Flitwick, Bathilda Bagshot, and, Florian Fortescue, that sort of thing. And I really wanted to do that. I just really like creating things in that manner. It sort of brings out the spirit of things. And So I opted for that, and you have to be a bit careful because you could really sort of inadvertently make a name that sounds a bit like an adult film star, which is really not a sort of projection that I want to put forth. But I was quite happy with Gerrick Greythorne. I think it had a sort of an almost Hogwarts professor motif to it. And anyways, I'm starting to digress. I was, of course, sorted into Hogwarts. That's no surprise. I should say at least 8 out of 10 times I wind up in Gryffindor. I've probably done the house quiz 10 times, maybe 11, and all but twice I went to Gryffindor. The other one was always Ravenclaw. And so, anyways, I was quite chuffed about that. But what I really liked was my wand is going to be the same. It's, you know, elder wood with the phoenix feather, unyielding flexibility. That's my wand. My house for Ilvermorny was Thunderbird. But what I really loved with my pseudonym, my Patronus is a greyhound. And I swear it was absolutely natural that I came to it. I got no outside help whatsoever, and I was just as pleased as I could possibly be to get a greyhound. Gerrick Greythorne with his greyhound. I absolutely love it. It made my whole night, I must say, which probably speaks a bit poorly of my general entertainment standards for an evening, but you know what? That's the magic of being a Potterhead, I think. You you do what you like and you just don't care. Honestly. What else can I say? I'm an absolute fan of not only the Potterverse, but I must say I do like very much also the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. But this is not about Tolkien, this is about Rowling's Potterverse, and I'm terribly enamoured with it. I love it very deeply, not just for the fantastic stories which are emotionally gripping, with a lot of twists and turns and surprises. And my God, I wish so much that I could sometimes not know what's going to happen and reread the stories and relive these moments again. But I must say, it's wonderful to see the sort of, for lack of a better word, Easter eggs and sort of portents to come. Little bits that sort of expand in the future. So when you go back, especially with the books, you see things, and knowing what's going to happen is sort of enhances the beauty of the work. And one of the things that I appreciated artistically, which I did not initially, was that the reading level of the stories increase with the age of the Golden Trio. I find that to be a rather nice bit of artistic touch, and yes, it's really nice. I must say I like it quite a lot. The movies, I do love them. I like them a lot. I love the soundtracks. For the most part, I love the actors. I probably would have honestly cast a few characters differently. The absolute best bits of casting, I could say, is the Golden Trio, Malfoy, Crabbe, Goyle. They're absolutely wonderful. Minerva McGonagall, Trelawney, and Snape was spot on. Absolutely fantastic. Just positively perfect. Depending on the audience listening to this, you may not know who this person is, but I would have cast Peter O'Toole to play the part of Albus Dumbledore from the very beginning. had I had the choice and had I known or actually read the books prior to filming and I were in a capacity to choose, I would have chosen Peter O'Toole to play the part. He's more of not really your macho type. Um, of course, the venerable late Richard Harris was well cast for that movie, the first two. Um, I must confess that I don't care for Gambon as the role or the actor for the Dumbledore character for the rest of the movies. I thought that he was a bit overly masculine and inconsiderate of the characters. I thought things were very out of character, uh, minor things really, but of course you've got in the third movie he was patting Ron Weasley's broken leg whilst he was putting emphasis on things that he was saying. I thought that was really wildly out of character, and his demeanour by and large was just overly masculine. I never put Dumbledore as an overly masculine figure, and he sort of overdid that a bit. But that was just my only criticism. His performance was still decent. The movies are fantastic. I love them. My favourite piece of music in the whole thing is Dumbledore's Army. I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic up-tempo piece. I made a modification to it for my own enjoyment. I slowed the tempo down and I raised the pitch, and I think it works rather nicely for the piece, and I will be using it in future storytelling endeavours if perhaps there's a bit of, in actual interest in hearing more of what I will be doing in the future. But my participation in this sort of thing comes exclusively from my enjoyment of the series. The Wizarding World. I've got several projects that I'm doing mostly for my own fulfillment, my own enjoyment. I've got about 25 pages of planning and manual work for a sort of massively multiplayer online game that would be in the Potterverse. And I don't know how much interest I could generate with that, but I will possibly, based upon interest in seeing such things, divulge bits and bobs of that nature, that sort of thing. And whilst I do wish to keep a certain level of anonymity, the primary motivation for changing my name, using a pseudonym, and, well, just to protect myself, really. The internet can be, as we all know, none of us are absolutely naive and stupid, the internet can be a terribly brutal place. You can't please everyone. Someone is going to think everything that you love is absolute rubbish, whether it's sincere or it's this deeply held desire to troll people. And I must admit that I am probably a bit more sensitive than I ought to be, but if I were not sensitive, I would not be who I am. I try in my daily affairs to be as unfailingly kind as possible and understanding, even though there are certain behaviours I can't tolerate. I must say this might delve a tiny bit into the political. I don't mean to, but I've been pretty much an outcast my entire life, and I think that brings with it a sense of being very much more of a watcher than a participator. And throughout the course of my life, and I am happily married, by the way, I wish I could have had the experience of being a parent, but I've never really had much more than a dog. It does not really look like at this point I will ever be a parent unless I can perhaps earn a decent amount of money and adopt a child. I would love very much the opportunity to teach a child to read, to watch them grow, nurture them, read books, and introduce them to the Potter world and share a lot of my values and likes with them. That's pretty much the main goal of a parent, as well as producing a proper citizen. I understand that level of being a parent, but it is a very costly endeavour, and I must admit I sort of get a vicarious sort of thing watching these children do. Well, they're not really children, are they? They're very young adults and people in their late teens. They're making these videos. I'm old enough to be their parents for the most part, and I sort of see them from a parental perspective. I would be very proud of a lot of them if I were their parents. I will leave my subscriptions open for all to see, so anyone interested in the Potterverse that might perhaps like to watch a YouTuber, they will be visible to anyone who would like to browse those. I really like the creativity and the general disposition of the YouTubers that do their work. They're immensely entertaining to watch, and I must say I get a vicarious kick out of watching, and I hope someday I have the money to do this. I would love to go to the Wizarding World and of Harry Potter in Orlando, and I'm going to confess that I absolutely cry watching these people go there, and they start shedding tears of joy going there. I absolutely get a thrill and a half watching people do that. It's just fantastic. And I realise categorically that I pretty much wiped my bum with my man card. I'm not too interested in keeping hold of it. I've got no macho tendencies. My bravery comes from probably my earnest desire to fiercely protect those whom I love. I don't fancy being a fighter or a big hero. I would love to be able to produce a sort of contribution to culture and literature someday that would move people the same way J.K. Rowling did. I thought what she's done, her societal contribution is measureless, truly. And as I delve into the philosophy as I make my introduction, which at this point is really long-winded and is probably best served as a bit of something for someone to listen to while they're at work, or perhaps in the loo, or in the midst of a terribly long car drive or plane flight somewhere. I'm seeing a lot of societal trouble from people of my generation and the ones before. I can't say that my generation is responsible for the irresponsible stewardship of this environment, of the world that we live in. I also don't want to join the millennial bashing bandwagon, which is a bunch of bollocks. It's a bunch of rubbish, truly. I don't fancy blaming children for the problem that exists, because they have had absolutely nothing to do with it. And I'm seeing a lot of my generation bashing their children, seeming to be absolutely oblivious to the fact that they were the ones that raised the little snots that they're dealing with. And not that they're little snots either, really. I'm seeing what I think is a good thing, where the younger generation is placing a higher premium on fairness and fair play, and not exploitation and seeking ever to achieve differential disadvantage. That is pretty much all I'd like to say as far as that bit of a philosophical introduction. On You can count on me always meaning as well as possible. I don't really fancy notions of doing anything underhanded, unless perhaps it's defeating ignorance and prejudice and stupidity, cruelty, callousness, that sort of thing. Uh, the worst people are those that have no empathy at all. I just have no patience for them, and I must say my compassion for those with no compassion for others is severely diminished. I can't stand the thought of someone exploiting people on a wholesale basis and robbing them of their dignity, that sort of thing. And that got a bit dark, I'm afraid. I'm sorry I digressed so much. This is a bit of an introduction, and I'll be soon wrapping this up. I very much enjoy watching the videos put forth by the people I've subscribed to. Some of them are real gems, and I very much want to share and to keep visible the goings on in the Potter world, doing what bit I can to promote the Potterverse as it is, and continuing to enjoy and to participate in the community as best I may, for the time being, as I'm doing it here. I don't expect this to get a lot of listens or a lot of accolades or anything like that. I well, I guess I should wrap it up here. I bid you all good day, and I hope to meet some of you later. I will, of course, answer any questions anyone has, short of divulging my personal information. And, yeah, by all means, ask me anything you want to ask me, and I shall do my absolute best to answer your questions, anything anybody may have. Fair winds for now.